Well, thank you, Bob, and also to Tony and Business Hunter and Amanda and the whole Business Hunter team. Really thrilled to be here. I just wanted to start by acknowledging the Awabakal, the traditional custodians on the land on which we meet today, the Awabakal people, and pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. So today I just wanted to offer a couple of perspectives on the topics within emerging industries and the future of work. And the topic is about building career confidence in resources and energy sectors. And I'm just going to speak about that through my capacity as the Chair of Resources New South Wales, which is an initiative of the University of Newcastle Energy and Resources Knowledge Hub, and also, as Bob mentioned, the Cluster Manager for New H2, which is the Hunter Hydrogen Technology Cluster. And to put some context around today's topics, I just wanted to first share with you 5 key mega trends that are facing the energy and resources sectors, and also talk about the rate and the scale that these mega trends are adopted, and the solutions that they're uncovering will impact directly on what this means for the workforce of the future, and also how it can play a key role to drive career confidence going forward in these sectors. So the first mega trend that I just wanted to talk about is the energy transition and decarbonisation. It's abundantly clear that the energy transition is receiving attention worldwide as arguably the most ambitious undertaking in industrial history. And we are embarking here in the Hunter on an energy renaissance, and across the world, industries are embarking on this energy renaissance, and they're really redesigning the way the world is powered. And importantly, we can no longer really rely on carbon emission reduction activity in the future tense. With many countries, including Australia and also New South Wales, we've already set bold targets for emission reduction, and the carbon emission reduction activity is already happening as an activity across here in New South Wales, here in Australia, and across the world. And as a global community, there's a need and a desire to act now, and that underpins a future of endless industry opportunities. So here in New South Wales, you only need to look at the surge of renewable energy activities and projects and the rapid emergence of the Hunter hydrogen industry here, just to see, that this is happening. It's no longer something that we, can talk about in terms of the future. Hydrogen itself is definitely shaping up to be a major enabler in that energy transition, and governments and industries across the world, not just here in New South Wales, globally, are investing heavily in hydrogen projects and technologies. So new investments unlock innovation, and it enables the development of new projects. And this drives supply, it drives demand, and we can then start to become more creative about how and where our clean energy can be produced and also consumed. The other mega trend is that new energy systems are creating new modern technologies. So the energy transition and decarbonisation megatrend actually needs a huge range and a shift in what the stocks that we need of what we call enabling commodities. So commodities such as nickel, copper, critical minerals and technology minerals. And these are all essential inputs to new energy systems and the technologies that will enable decarbonisation. And it's also driving technologies around automation, machine learning, AI, etc. So, to put that in context, the International Energy Agency, determines that an electric car needs 6 times the mineral inputs of a conventional car. And it's all in these commodities that are copper, critical minerals and technology minerals. And an onshore wind farm requires 9 times more mineral resources as inputs than a gas-fired power plant of comparable output. So all of a sudden, minerals are becoming part of the energy conversation. And pleasingly, the New South Wales government is taking note of this. Just this week, there was an announcement around $130 million in funding to, across 5 years to navigate new investment opportunities and activate how we can access as well as process critical minerals and high-tech minerals, which are really complicated and more complex than traditional minerals. The other megatrend I wanted to talk about is what I call shared value, transparency and assurance. So while this is all happening, at the same time, consumers and customers are tracking supply chains more than ever before. Consumers want to know where their products are coming from, and this is called provenance. So has it been ethically sourced? What is the carbon footprint of the industry that are producing and delivering these goods for the future? So suppliers and supply chain proponents are adopting sort of what we call the concept of shared value, transparency and assurance. An assurance framework are evolving to incorporate a range of factors. So for instance, a mining project's ability to operate, a licence to operate, their ability to track and measure ESG factors, also in terms of knowing your client, knowing your investors. So as a great example, just recently, Apple commissioned a global study of mining projects around the world, 2,000 projects around the world, to better understand exactly what is happening in the mining operation itself. What are the materials they're producing? What is the waste they're producing? How are they managing water, etc.? And they will base their decisions around where they source their products on this reporting and assurance frameworks. So also the UN SDGs, are widely accepted. There's a range of industries, including energy resources, that are responding to this. And there's also a shift in thinking that the early adopters of assurance schemes can differentiate their products and commercially benefit in the short term from consumers that are seeking products aligned with those corporate objectives. And an example of that, of what that could mean for the hunter, is like the green hydrogen certification schemes. If we move early, we can actually position the region as a lead supplier in green hydrogen. So the next mega trend that's happening is circular economy thinking. So circular economy is really the shift from linear models of extracting, producing, consuming, and tossing it away at the end, to a circular model which is about extracting, producing, consuming, reusing and recycling. So why this is gaining so much attention is that in terms of minerals and resources and energy, is that the future supply of these enabling commodities to enable the energy transition will not be able to be sourced from primary extraction alone. So it's really important that we're thinking as well as a region about how we bring about new industries in circular economy industries. And an example of that is things like battery recycling, as an example. So the commodities that can be fully recycled, copper recycling, copper scrap, metal scraps, etc. And that's an opportunity for new industries to be created as well. So the fifth mega trend is that we're also facing a number of technical challenges as commodities and projects and those large-scale projects that are really part of the energy future, like hydrogen, but certainly in minerals commodities, it's more complex to extract. It's more complex to execute. The timeframes, are challenging. Mineral deposits are getting deeper. The projects are getting deeper. The grades are getting lower. The unit cost of production is increasing, and certainly in the new energy space like hydrogen, the technology maturity level, which enables the projects such as renewables and hydrogen, battery technologies, etc. In many cases, those technologies are emerging. So we're still not there yet, but we're on this journey. Also, there's a range of supply chain disruptions, geopolitical events that are shifting attention and supply of minerals, and there's a real shift, and you would all see this, to bring in domestic value-added supply chains and manufacturing capabilities. So we're really, for I believe the first time, really taking a serious look at how we extract our minerals, and rather than ship off the concentrate and the raw materials, we're actually looking at how we can actually value add in terms of industry opportunity. So I guess understanding these megatrends is important, but I just wanted to touch on now why this is relevant to the Hunter. As we know, the Hunter is already home to some of the most historic, advanced, complex mining operations in the world, and unquestionably is an energy powerhouse. Coal was first shipped 200 years ago. There are currently around 39 operating mines. It's, well over 20,000 direct employees. Enormous, benefits in terms of royalties to the government, but it is undergoing structural change, but it's also world leading. It also has, the world-class coal supply chain. We're exporting from the port of Newcastle, and that's well known. It has a world leading reputation for high quality, reliable source of supply to energy markets. In terms of minerals, New South Wales has a very rich endowment of a range of metallic minerals that are part of the new energy transition. It also has, Australia's a significant player in the copper industry, for example. Australia's second largest copper resources in the world, and it's the 5th largest producer, but 4 of the top 10 Australian copper producers are actually in New South Wales. And why that's important is that it's predicted that more copper will be needed in the next 30 years than has ever been produced for the last 2,000 years to meet the energy transition. So a significant study was done by Geological Survey globally to look at this issue of copper and look at where are the regions in the world that we can produce and extract copper. It is actually stated in those reports that New South Wales has the highest density of known undiscovered deposits and is one of the most prospective regions for new copper discoveries in the world. So that's an enormous opportunity. New South Wales also has an endowments of 17 of the 24 minerals identified in the Critical Mineral Prospectus, and it has a number of advanced projects that are also emerging. There are currently around 13 mineral projects underway, which equates to around $13 billion in investment and around 18,000 projected jobs for those projects. So I wanted to touch on hydrogen. And as Bob mentioned, the Hunter region, hydrogen is a very exciting industry, and it's happening here in the Hunter, which is fantastic. The Hunter is actually recognised at both the national and state level as a priority area for hydrogen hub development. Actually, as Craig Carmody mentioned last night, and it's important to emphasise this point, is the Hunter has received more structural government funding commitments than any other region in Australia. So that's a big signal that hydrogen is happening here, which is great. So it is recognised as a critical input for the future of many heavy industries. There's a significant opportunity to advance all aspects of the hydrogen value chain here in the Hunter, including transport and mobility, heat, chemical feedstock, storage, grid electricity and ammonia exports as well. We're the only region in Australia to have a dedicated Hunter Hydrogen Task Force, and with that have created the Hunter Hydrogen Roadmap. And we also have the Hunter Hydrogen Technology Cluster. And so we have a range of stakeholders that have really come together in the region, including Business Hunter, that are working together to bring the model of both hubs and clusters working together in a coordinated way to drive industry development. So the role of the hydrogen technology cluster is really about driving supply chain coordination, navigating those complexities, working with project proponents, but also the outreach to the broader industry in the region to see how we can participate in hydrogen supply chains. So I wanted to touch on METS, or mining equipment technology and services, and also HETS, hydrogen equipment technology and services. So when we look at the strength of our mining industry, it's probably no surprise that the region has also, it has enormous strengths in I guess what you call the solutions that sit behind the industry itself, the production of the minerals. So the Hunter plays a really important role in the national METS landscape. The METS sector generates around $115 billion in revenue for nationally. It employs around 300,000 people. And New South Wales, it's not WA and it's not Queensland. New South Wales has the largest number of METS headquarters, and it is estimated to generate around 25% of that national revenue. So there are significant industry and manufacturing networks here in the Hunter. And also, just to also give you context, that the mining industry is global. So the New South Wales MET sector is globally focused, it's already exporting, and there's very strong collaboration between leading research institutes, which include the University of Newcastle and other industry partners. So we should now be thinking about HETS. We've got this incredible opportunity and industry development happening in the hydrogen industry. So the hydrogen industry for the region will bring about a huge amount of large-scale infrastructure and asset development. And at the same time, the role of the cluster is actually now to take, our strength in METS, how do we shift that now into HETS? How do we start to diversify, evolve our industries that already have this, world-leading capabilities? So that includes things like equipment manufacturing, technology and services. I just wanted to also touch on, digital and automation. So digital and automation technologies in the resources and energy industries are a tremendous opportunity for Australia, but also I just wanted to paint the context around New South Wales. A major study done for the National Energy Resources Australia indicate that the adoption of digital and automation technology in the resources sector has a potential to add $74 billion in value to the national economy by 2030 and create more than 80,000 jobs. But while that jobs growth is significant, there's also a huge amount of concern. In states like Western Australia, where they're actually coupled with FIFO models, they're actually seeing this big shift between and impacts to regional areas as we're seeing these big remote operating centres start to be executed, for instance, and operating trucks up in the Pilbara as an example. So while we talk about jobs growth, there's concern in states like Queensland and WA about what that really means. So I just wanted to give that picture of the opportunity, but also just think that the strength of the Hunter is that we are not WA. And I would argue that we are not faced with the same issues of regional displacement to the same extent as our interstate partners. And this is a significant strength, and it's an enormous opportunity to really take a leadership position here. Across Australia, there's a significant shift from a siloed approach to looking more holistically across technologies that navigate and provide solutions across the whole system, including renewable energy adoption. So when we think about mining, we think about METS, we think about renewable energy adoption, we think about hydrogen technologies and hydrogen industry emerging. Just think about those opportunities that can then be created in the Hunter region as our energy mix changes. But of course, it all requires coordination, and there's been a suite of policy frameworks and strategies both here in New South Wales but also across the country, to try and navigate these complexities. You know, that you can see some of them up there on the screen. But pleasingly in New South Wales, I think we're starting to see this real shift into place-based precincts, as you know, including things like the establishment of a critical minerals hub. We've got special activation precincts happening in the state, and we're also seeing the support of clusters like New H2 to help navigate some of these complexities. And it's the role of the cluster really to sort of drive and bring about this coordination, strengthen coordination between stakeholders, create that ecosystem or entrepreneurial thinking, and actually start to drive connections between research, industry, government, etc., and the project proponents. So, you know, we're working hard at New H2 to sort of work in those pillars of knowledge sharing, research and innovation, supporting projects and investment, and also aligning to national initiatives. So I guess in close, I just wanted to sort of bring it back to what does this actually mean for career confidence, and how is this relevant to building career confidence? I guess, you know, the resources and energy industry as a whole, including resources, including the future energy industries, is made up of hundreds, if not thousands, of highly skilled jobs. It's very diverse, and it will utilise the latest in technologies. There's a range of career opportunities for skilled workers, and also pathways to develop those skills. Environmental scientists, drone operators, mechatronics, infrastructure maintenance, automation. There are extremely exciting opportunities, and it's an exciting industry to get into, and this message really needs to be out there. I was actually in Cobar just last week, and almost 2 kilometres underground was a remote control centre driving, you know, a fully automated drilling, you know, machine. And that remote control centre is like a gaming room. And then it's also at 1 kilometre where the workshop is, and it's also on the surface. Like, the technologies that are happening are incredible. There was also, at the same operation, at 1 kilometre underground, was a state-of-the-art, world-first electric vehicle for loading, hauling and dumping. It was the largest scale. It's, you know, brought in from Sweden. The technicians there, the apprentices, were working on this, you know, fast charging technology. They had built out a charging station as well. This is all happening, but we need to share that news. So we do have, you know, a really strong foundational training network established in the region. You know, Adrian's here from TAFE, and you know, and as well as the other training providers. And this is a fantastic platform to build those skills and create those agile and flexible models for upskilling, training, accreditation, micro-credentialing, etc. And there was a lot of discussion yesterday about that. There's also a work underway at the moment for a world-class clean technology innovation precinct here in the Hunter, and the aim of that is to bring significant industry, start-ups, scale-ups, education and research together. So in terms of creating and building career confidence, I would actually argue that it is the role of industry leaders like yourselves to build and create career confidence in resources and energy sectors. It's imperative that we have a shared vision, a goal and a purpose, and that we're getting the message out there that the Hunter is a resources and energy powerhouse. We need to embrace a diversification of skill sets, and we need to increase competence levels. We need to be flexible and adaptable, and we need to look outside the box. And when we think about diversity, the opportunities are there. It was, you know, when Mark Hoffman yesterday mentioned that the University of Newcastle Engineering actually has the lowest female participation rate of any university in the state. That has to be addressed, because we are the industry powerhouse of the country, and there's untapped potential for a range of different skills and capabilities. I think when we look at in the context of these mega trends, the region should be very optimistic but also accountable for the future. And career confidence and filling the skill pipeline, I think, will come from those who embrace the message that the hunter is the Australian epicentre, and it's really at the pointy end of what is a global energy transition. And as leaders, you really all have that role to play to build and create career confidence, to own it and to promote it and ultimately to celebrate it. So thank you.